And we don't know for sure that Aaron Rodgers is changing circumstances, but he's a guy who, for like a decade, just set his own mean as in terms of touchdown rate. Until Patrick Mahomes had thrown 1,500 passes, Aaron Rodgers had the highest touchdown rate of all time, right around 6%. Last year, he was over 9%. So even if you think like 6% is his mean now, which it hasn't been over the past 3 years before last year, he looked like he'd kind of lost some of that elite touchdown skill. Even if you think that, you should expect that his touchdowns from last year would be cutting a third. So like literally that's 16 passing touchdowns gone.
And even if he wasn't 9%, but he was just 7%, which would have been second in the NFL last season to Russell Wilson, he would have thrown 36 touchdowns or 37 touchdowns instead of 48. And that would have dropped him, I believe, from QB1 in points per game to QB11.
The problem I have with this is that touchdown rates in general were way up last year, right?
So yeah, I think so.
Right, like so I just looked right now. I forgot to do this before the show, but I did it right now. The amount of players who had a 6% touchdown rate, I think they were 9 last year. They were 5 the year before. The amount of players who had a 5% touchdown rate went from 12 in 2019 to 15 in 2020.
Yeah, it was up 4.8% compared to 4.5% in 2020.
League median,
2019.
Right?
League average.
Is that average? Okay.
Yeah, so I look at Aaron Rodgers and okay, so if his touchdown rate had been his career rate of 6.3%, he would have thrown 33 touchdown passes. That's 15 fewer. That's basically what Heath just said, and that would have made him basically the number 10 quarterback in fantasy instead of number 1 or number 2, depending on 4-point versus 6-point. So, am I supposed to value him as 10? Am I supposed to rank him 10th? I should probably expect regression from other quarterbacks who were ahead of him as well.
Yep.
And then there's also the fact that, he's Aaron Rodgers and he's awesome and he could have another 40 touchdown pass season, right?
Yeah. And this does get into kind of like one of the issues when we're talking about this kind of topic or projections in general is we're only going to talk about one number, like we're going to project. I have Aaron Rodgers projected for 34 touchdowns in a 16-game season, so probably something like 36 and a half in 17 games. That's not actually how it works, though. The likelihood there are an infinite number of possible outcomes in the future, and the average of all of them would be like 36-ish for me at least. But that means sometimes he gets 27, and sometimes he gets 31, and sometimes he gets 48. So
then why do I stress over this? Why don't I just kind of he's Aaron Rodgers?
Well, but because I think like the whole he's Aaron Rodgers thing, there's a little ding in that when you look at the fact that 2018 and 2019 combined, he had a 4.4%, like less than half of what he did last year.
Yeah. So
he had not been Aaron Rodgers for two and a half seasons. Depending on which metric you want to use, he hadn't been above 7.4 yards per attempt. It's not just touchdown rate. His yards per attempt had been 7.4 or worse since 2014. And last year it ballooned to 8.2.
And he also had 3 rushing touchdowns last year, which was more
right.
than
I think I have him number 10 in the projections. He might be number 9 in the rankings just because Deshaun Watson projects a lot higher than you can draft him right now. But I think he's a low-end number 1 quarterback. And yes, there's the possibility that he's just Aaron Rodgers again. But his margin for error without running for 400 yards or running for 5 touchdowns is so much smaller, especially if Matt LaFleur continues to want to run this offense that's not going to throw the ball 600 times.
And the other thing regarding he's Aaron Rodgers is he's always been Aaron Rodgers, and he's done this before. He had a 9.0 touchdown rate in 2011 and followed it up with 7.1%. Now 7.1% would still be an excellent number, but he would probably finish around QB10 if he had
QB2 that year.
Right. The league context has changed so much.
Yeah, it's right. And he was okay. And also Rodgers used to run more than he does. He had his fewest rushing yards ever in a season in which he played 16 games. So it does help in the sense that it helps put the downside in perspective for Aaron Rodgers because he's not running as much as he used to, and we have better mobile quarterbacks that all get drafted ahead of him. 3 rushing touchdowns might be an outlier. It might go back to 0. And then, yeah, if the touchdown, like he had a year 2018 where he was amazing. 4,442 yards, 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And because the touchdown rate was low, he was number 9 per game in 4-point, number 6 per game in 6-point per passing touchdown league. So, I mean, that's a guy that if he had thrown more touchdowns, he probably would have been in the MVP discussion. I don't remember who won it in 2018, but 25 to 2 touchdown interception rate, almost 4,500 yards. It's a terrific season, but it really wasn't a standout because of the low touchdown rate.
Well, and like there were other things, like part of the reason that he
that was Mahomes that year, right? That was his MVP.
Well, no, but he threw for 4,400 yards because that was the year he had his second most pass attempts ever. That was the last year before LaFleur. His passer rating that year was actually below well below his career at Norm. So I don't think he was actually that good.
But his passer rating is so heavily influenced by touchdowns and interceptions. But when you throw 25 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, I mean, that's pretty good.
Well, yeah, but even like his yards per attempt were 7.4 compared to a career average of 7.8.
Okay.